Chapter 31, Growth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 31. Growth, KH. Theo gulped down. The attack was so close that it almost hit him. He didn't dare to think about the possibility of it hitting him, so he shook his head while leaping backward. Bang! The tongue hit the ground, precisely where he was at previously. He ran to the left while summoning his clone again. Magic bullet. Theo raised his hand and tried to confirm whether the toad could do it again. Surprisingly, the toad spat another purple ball and melted his magic bullet. Unlike the last time, he avoided it effortlessly and continued running. Meanwhile, his clone faced the other toad's tongue but managed to avoid it before bending his knee to grab the spear on the ground and ran back to regroup with the real him. To finish this, it's better to use magic bullet but split it at least 2. But I've never succeeded. Theo thought hard. Screw it. It's do or die. Clone Theo raised the spear and planned to take on the toads alone, while Theo stepped back a few times and stretched his hand. Between his 2 palms, the magic bullet appeared. Now! Theo shouted inwardly as he channeled his power to control the magic bullet. Unfortunately, the magic bullet turned unstable as it started wobbling around like rippling waves in the water. The round dot-shaped magic bullet was slowly deformed as it began to split like a cell divided itself. However, the reaction increased as Theo started losing his control over the magic bullet before it exploded like a balloon popped out. The small shock wave made his hands a bit numb as he forfeited his clone for that split second. Seeing that difference, the toads stretched out their tongues, hitting the clone. KH. Theo felt the toll earlier and ran to the side, so the toads couldn't hit him. What should I do? Should I just run away? But if it's only 1, I can beat it. Why is it so different when there are 2? When he was about to escape, an idea flashed in his mind as he couldn't help but clench his teeth. Theo summoned his clone again and ran into the woods as though he was running away from them. Of course, he didn't lose contact with his clone, allowing him to maintain its movement. Clone Theo charged at the injured toad, planning to finish it. The toads turned around and focused on the clone instead, thinking that the other one truly escaped. People said that luck is also a part of weapons. Even the god of mischief told you how lucky you were. To think you let such a thing get into your head and become more arrogant. When will you stop relying on luck? Theo clenched his teeth as he went around the toad where he could barely see his clone fighting. It was harsh to control the clone that way, but he thought it was worth it because no way the toad would notice this. No. I'm not going to rely on it anymore. Even if I have the luck to see a miracle, I will need to have enough strength to perform the miracle itself. Theo raised his hand, summoned the first magic bullet, and shot it toward the healthier toad because this would surely kill it. Magic bullet. The magic bullet flew straight between the trees and hit right on its head. Croak. The other toad was surprised to see that light coming out of its friend's head and saw a hole on his head. Clone Theo took this distraction to pierce his spear on its head as the toad fell to the ground. I might not be able to form 2 magic bullets right now, but there are always multiple answers. The reason why I thought only the 2 magic bullets was the answer was due to my naivety and experience. If I couldn't hit the toad because of the poison ball, I just needed to shoot it from their blind spot. Theo let out a relieved breath as he regrouped with his clone. It's really hard to fight one. No, this might also be the point of view of all single monsters I have killed with my clone. No wonder it's so easy to fight 2 versus 1. I am glad to experience it this early. He placed his hand on the 2 toads, and surprisingly, one of them dropped a skill card. Skill. Spitting poison, F, effect. Allow the user to spit out poison mucus from their mouth. Effective only for level 40 or below. Huh, are you serious? Theo twitched his eyebrows, wanting to throw this card immediately. The poison that the toad used earlier was far stronger. It even melted the ground. Why would it become this useless? I mean, level 40 is good, but I don't think it will be useful in the long run. If I can level up 4 times every day until I reach elite rank, I will surpass this card limit in just 3 to 4 days. After considering for a while, he grabbed the skills he put inside his bag. Staring at the 5 skills, he hesitated for a second due to the last skill he got. Screw it. I should upgrade my clone first. After all, it's the skill the God of Mischiefs granted me. Besides, an E-rank skill like Magic Bullet helps me tremendously. Suddenly, the God of Mischief talked to him again, confirming his decision. God of Mischief wants your confirmation to upgrade your clone skill. Yes. Skill. Clone, E. Upgradable upgrade. Fuse 20 rank F skills and 1 rank E skill effect. A skill that allows the user to create a clone of himself. Due to the current skill rank, the user can create the same body, control its movement, share vision, and talk. Other parts are still locked. What? Theo widened his eyes. Although there wasn't much of an improvement, this would help him masking his ability. After all, he could control his clone remotely, maybe to scout or impersonate someone. Theo summoned his clone and wondered how he used the skill. When he closed his eyes, he felt fuzzy as though something was pulled out of his body. He quickly opened his eyes to check his body but saw his clone held a sword before his eyes. It was supposed to be his real body. That means... Theo looked down and saw the spear on his hand. I can't feel the weight of the spear. No, I don't even have a sense of touch. It feels weird. Theo shuddered while touching his hand or even gently slapped it but still had no feel. It crept him a little bit, but the most important question was how to return to his body. Since there was only one clue, he decided to close his eyes again, having the same feeling before his consciousness returned to his real body. He touched his hand again and sensed it. Ah, yes. I'm back. I will explore this skill a bit more later after reaching home. It's going to become dark soon. Chapter 32, Group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 32. Group. The next day, Theo went to school. It was Saturday and students normally didn't go to school. He, however, could only see people after people coming into the school, showing the students' enthusiasm for the Grand Gaia competition. When he was about to enter the school, a crowd of people took his attention. They all faced the same direction, which turned out to be a billboard. On that wooden board, several name lists were pinned. Each paper contained 500 people with A, B, C, D, and so on below the lists. Making his way through them, Theo gradually reached the very front, where he began to search for his school ID to see his group. Surprisingly, he noticed many unusual numbers that a first-year student wouldn't have. Seniors from 2nd and 3rd grades. Theo asked inwardly before frowning. He took a glance over his number and group. I am in Group D. I hope I don't need to meet Lost or anyone I know. Suddenly, a series of love-struck shouts pierced everyone's ears as they turned around. Kia! It's the Wolf Prince. My prince. The girls began to scream as if their idol arrived at the school. Theo also became curious and turned around as he didn't know about this title thing, only to find himself regretting it in that instant. The Wolf Prince in their mouth was someone he knew. This man had a petite figure and acted cute like a woman. Yes, he was none other than Cyril Hilbert. He had put him in his not to talk list to avoid getting dragged into the spotlight, albeit he seemed to have accepted and relied on something he shouldn't have. What should I do? I have been getting used to the magic bullet recently. Although I have no plan in revealing it, he might know it in one way or another. Theo's heart skipped a beat. I thought he was just a middle schooler, but it seemed you couldn't judge the book by its cover. Only one hope remained in Theo's head. Please. Don't make him in my group. I want to stay away from him. God, please. Don't let any of these guys be a part of my group. Theo prayed to God while thinking about 4 people. Aaliyah Eilrich, Lost Lang, Sihan Raskaka, and Firil Hilbert. I mean, I don't mind being a part of their group, but it's only after the training is over. Firil waved his hand to the crowd while slowly making his way toward the billboard. The normal students didn't dare to stand in his way and quickly went to the side, allowing him to check his group. Theo also followed what the others did so as to avoid his radar while thinking, still, I can't understand why I don't know a famous person like him. Has he ever gone to school? As Theo thought about it, he heard a few people talking. Ah, my prince is so tragic. To think he needs to leave school this whole time due to his body, I wonder if there is a cure for his illness. If he doesn't need such a thing, he would have surpassed Sihan Raskaka. SSH. We shouldn't talk about it so as to avoid hurting our prince's heart. Illness, asked Theo in his mind, what kind of illness he has. And how strong he is. Did he lie to me a few days ago? As expected, this guy is dangerous. I should stay away from him. Firil looked left and right before finding his ID. I see. I am in B group, huh? In that instant, Theo felt ecstatic and clenched his fist like a winner. With his wish fulfilled, he could breathe out of relief. Now, I only need to search for the other 3. For now, I should wait here to see if there are any more people from my list coming here. After knowing his group, Firil waved his hand and said, those who are in B group. Please take care of me, okay? Kia. The girls began to scream hysterically as if they couldn't control their lust for a small kid like him. Theo didn't care and searched for an empty chair where he could wait until the principal called them to gather. Meanwhile, unlike the peaceful atmosphere outside the school principal's office didn't share the same sentiment. There were 2 people in the room, staring at each other. The first one was a middle-aged man with a long black mustache despite him not having even a single strand of hair on his head. He wore a brown suit and looked at the girl before him. Principal. Why did you agree to this term? The woman shouted while slamming the table. The principal remained calm and even said menacingly. Aaliyah Eilrich. Who do you think you are? You might be a genius, but there are so many geniuses in this country that can replace you. Besides, this order is not mine. Suddenly, Aaliyah felt something was wrong and stopped pressing him for an answer. Not from you, from who? It's someone above your grandfather, answered the principal with a flat tone. There will be someone overseeing the progress of the students and will choose the students himself. He handles everything, from body training to team creation. I can only tell you one thing. He is an eccentric man. Even your participation ticket might go up in smoke the day after tomorrow if you can't even pass his test. Aaliyah stared at the principal and took a few deep breaths. She might not like the situation, but it didn't mean she would blame everything on the principal, who had nothing to do with it. So, you are saying I only need to get accepted, right? From the bottom of my heart, I wish you to be one of the participants. Your chance is pretty high too. Unfortunately, I can't give you any assurance. The principal shook his head disappointedly. In any case, I will be announcing the training regimes right now. If you don't have any more complaints, go to the gym. Aaliyah furrowed her eyebrows and turned around. As she was about to leave the room, she stopped and said her last piece. No matter what you throw me, I will show you that I can get chosen. I will look forward to it. The principal closed his eyes, feeling that trouble would start coming. Chapter 33, 3 Stages of Training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 33. 3 Stages of Training. Unfortunately for Theo, no one came afterward. Lost aside, who had yet to return despite his suspension had finished, neither Aaliyah nor Sihan took a look at their number, or they probably already knew their number beforehand. The principal's voice soon resounded inside the school, asking all students to head to the gym for the briefing. Theo followed the crowd and entered the gym, only to find 10 groups. Each group had one flag with a character on it. The principal stood a few feet in front of the flags and said, "Line up according to your group since I am going to start in 5 minutes." Finding the flag with the D character on it, he quickly walked toward the line and found someone who was his worst fear in this training. Aliyah Ilrich. Theo wanted to escape or change the group right now, albeit it was impossible. With Aliyah in his group, he needed to hide his power continuously and acted like a weak. This would lower his progress by a large amount if they had intensive training, considering he couldn't properly use his strength. BDNV. Unfortunately, I can't escape if I want to change my fate. I need to get all the resources the government can offer to become the strongest, giving me the opportunity to reach my goal. And I won't break my promise to the God of Mischief as well. This was Theo's plan. Even the God of Mischief, who had been silent this whole time, finally replied to him. God of Mischief only wants to see the world chaotic and doesn't care about the aftermath. Although surprising, Theo felt happy because God of Mischief replied to him with something that perfectly aligned with his goal. This meant he could kill many people in the future. He slowly entered the line and made sure he didn't get too close to Aliyah. After waiting for 5 minutes, all people had gathered inside the gym as the principal climbed the stage, standing above them. In front of their gazes, the principal waved his hand a few times as he glanced over the students and looked at the few noteworthy ones, such as Aliyah or Sihan. "Good morning, my students. On this great day, I would like to announce a few things to you concerning your future training." The principal smiled and raised 3 fingers. "There are 3 types of training you will receive during the 6 months period as we will select those who we deem worthy. Without further ado, I shall explain the first training. This one is the most simple because you have been doing this in our regular curriculum. It's physical training. The military will send people to supervise all your training. And I will say this just once. You are free to give up if the training is too hard for you. However, it will also be the end of your hope to attain one of the positions in the Grand Gaia competition. The training will last for 3 months and the details will be explained by your own instructors at a later date, so I won't talk about it to avoid wasting everyone's time. The second training will be fighting. In this stage, you will form the ideal group in your mind based on luck and discretion. The only advice I can give right now without spoiling the detail is to win. As long as you win, you can keep encountering strong people that allow you to get them into your team. In fact, if you can beat Aliyah Ilrich's team, you can even force her to join your team, so good luck." The principal smiled. This was a kind of warning coming from the principal to all the talented students. Normally, Aliyah Ilrich, Sihan Raskaka, Firil Hilbert would be leading a team, but if they lost to someone else, not only would it affect their standing, but they also needed to bear the shame in their school life. Imagine Aliyah Ilrich losing to someone, her ability would be questioned without a doubt. Seeing the tension in their faces, the principal continued with a poker face. "There is one thing that gives you an opportunity to beat someone stronger. Each team will face each other inside the simulation world and all of you will be set at level 50 to ensure the fairness between grades. Last but not least, it's hunting training. What do you use your power for other than hunting monsters in the haven? Suppressing other people." The principal shrugged. "After getting your own group, you shall be thrown into the dangerous haven. You have to survive for 1 to 2 months, depending on the result of the second stage. That's the 3 stages. If you have any questions, you may ask them to your instructors during the training. That is if you can." The principal ended his speech with a provocation, inciting the students' fighting spirit. "I will survive no matter what. I want to get into Aliyah Ilrich's team because it's a winning candidate. I want." Everyone was pretty eager to show what they could, hoping that they would be selected as one of the candidates. After all, each student had a fair probability of achieving this. However, there was a hidden catch that only a few students noticed. The principal left a topic they needed to decipher, starting from the first stage. Since the training was to select a few elites, the training must be so brutal to chip down the number. After all, the second stage couldn't go with their original number because it would last too long, preventing the third round from happening. As for the second stage, the principal wanted them to test their adaptability and luck. They needed to adjust themselves to the team and made a correct choice, as the instructors would observe their judgment whether they could see someone's potential or not, and their luck. Yeah, luck ultimately was a part of skills. Theo reached the same conclusion as the talented people in this gym. However, his focus leaned on the third stage as he felt something was wrong. Earlier, he believed that the third stage of training wanted them to create perfect synergy in the entire team, but it changed after considering the fact that they were going to fight people from other countries. To that end, what mattered the most was none other than level. They must plan to increase the level of the first and second year students with the help of their third year. Theo couldn't help but mutter in a low voice. Interesting. Chapter 34, Tailing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 34. Tailing. After the big announcement from the principal, the students began to embark to either their home or the haven, preparing for the challenge in 2 days. Even Theo had the same intention as them, planning to grab his equipment back home and returning to the haven to increase his level. He hoped to reach level 35 before the training started. The schedule was pretty tight, but it wasn't impossible. Little did he know that someone was watching him from the school roof. She was the same old lady that followed the guys from the Lang family. After chasing them to the temple, she returned with disappointment since she didn't find him there. Well, I have found him now, so no need to look at the past. I should fulfill my promise now. Suddenly, her smile turned into a frown as she saw 5 people following Theo from the roof. They were also the same people from yesterday. I think I have a better plan for this. Her killing intent leaked a bit but disappeared right after she leaped off the roof, following those guys. It took him half an hour just to reach the haven until he came out of the Art Beats castle. Since he reached level 28 yesterday, he planned to go to the forest beyond the one he visited yesterday. It should be filled with monsters above level 25, giving him pretty good EXP points. Unaware of the fact he was being followed, Theo continued his journey like usual and put on his mask. This created a reaction among those who followed him. The group from the Lang family frowned as one of them asked. Why would he wear a mask? Is he aware that we are chasing him? Or he doesn't want to get exposed? I think it's the latter. The captain narrowed his eyes. The previous report that came before he defeated young Master Lost was him being a level 7. Yet, he managed to surpass that and planned to go this deep. I assume he is above level 25, if not level 30, since he is alone. Won't this be bad for us, Captain? We should report it to Master immediately. The captain contemplated for a minute before shaking his head. Let's follow him for today. We will confirm his fighting ability and level today before giving the full report to Master. Besides, Master has given an order for us to break a few bones if we deem him too dangerous. With that condition, he will suffer when young Master Lost comes back to the academy. I understand. He acknowledged the decision while shrugging. It's not like he is that good to notice our presence. Tailing for a whole day shouldn't be too much of a problem. You are too lax. You might almost reach level 100, but we live in a world where we can't underestimate someone or we will end up dying. So, be serious about this. The captain shook his head helplessly. As he said, they had enough strength to cover their presence in front of Theo. Yet, who was the woman following them that they couldn't even detect? The answer would remain unanswered for a long time. Meanwhile, Theo kept going deeper and deeper while slipping past every single monster he found, not planning to waste his time against them since he thought it would be better for him to hunt in his destination instead of here. The tree became denser and the thick smell of leaves began to fill his nose. This was the true appearance of the rainforest. The swamp was just a part of the outskirts and couldn't reflect what was inside. Theo noticed the drastic change from the swamp to the rainforest. The foul smell was replaced by a cool breeze. Yet, it made him shiver for once as if his instinct warned him to stay focused. "It seems this is not going to be an easy journey," muttered Theo while summoning his clone. At the very least, he wouldn't need to hand the weapon to his clone as they would walk together. Of course, yesterday was a great lesson for him as he quickly put on the disguise for his clone while having him carrying his bag since the weight wouldn't affect his movement. Theo held his spear while scanning left and right. His clone walked in front of him, so it could protect him. Because the number of trees had significantly increased, Theo needed to focus on spotting any kind of monsters lingering in this forest. Luckily, if one would think what the best thing they would find in a haven, it was the fact that most monsters had a quite big body. There was no monster with a small body like an ant, so they could focus on what they could see above the ground. The hidden danger only came from bushes and trees because they could emerge from there at any moment. The same applied to those that could change their skin color. Theo took a close look at every tree and bushes to make sure nothing was moving while walking forward. Sack. Sack. A noise other than the cracking noises from the dried leaves he stepped on echoed in his ears. He instinctively turned his head to the right while raising his spear. After turning in the mission yesterday, he already picked up another mission. It was to kill Leaf Rabbit and took their white fur. However, this one was a bit dangerous for people, considering the rabbit had a similar size to that on Earth. Coupled with their agility, this rabbit was hard to kill and might even bite him instead. Clone Theo walked toward the bush on his right side. Due to the shorter reach of the sword, it should be perfect for stopping any attacks from the rabbit. Meanwhile, the real him summoned his 2 magic bullets and held them for the moment the rabbit came out. Chio! A white rabbit suddenly leaped out of the bush and spun its body, trying to kick Clone Theo's face. Its fur was white and the eyes were black. If it were not for the green ears that looked like a tree leaf, he would mistake them for the one he found on Earth. He had prepared for it and raised his sword to slash the leaf rabbit. Surprisingly, the rabbit changed its position mid-air and kicked Theo's sword instead, going in another direction. The real Theo smiled and thrust his spear. The rabbit shouldn't be able to move during that time, so it should be perfect. Yet, the rabbit surpassed his expectation and spun its body a bit, allowing it to barely put its feet on the spear and launched itself to the top of Theo's head. The moment it fell down, Theo would surely feel the kick on his skull. Learning from his last mistake, he made another backup plan and released the magic bullets. "I got you." He smiled. Chapter 35, Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 35. Death. The magic bullet flew straight through the rabbit's stomach, killing it in one go. The rabbit fell behind him due to the momentum while Theo frowned. "I used the magic bullet to the sky because the trees are high enough to cover someone's vision. Unless they are nearby or flying, they shouldn't be able to see it. But it's truly risky, I should use it toward the trees or ground instead." Theo shook his head in disappointment. He turned around and bent his knees, touching the rabbit's fur. A card with a rabbit's drawing fell off the corpse. Theo picked it up without hesitation. Leaf rabbit fur, F, solid ingredients for fashion clothes. It has soft and durable characteristics that can last for a long time. Nice. Theo smiled and nodded. Meanwhile, the 5 guys had watched his actions and discussed their decision. "This kid is dangerous to young Master Lost. We should kill him right now. Master's order is to keep this guy alive. We can't afford to do it. Then, should we break all his limbs and force him to open his mouth? That's the only way. His transformation is too dangerous. Coupled with how he used his skill, young Master's position will be in danger. No, he may lose in the near future. And if he continues this way, I'm afraid we can't touch him in the near future. Grand Gaia. They gasped as if realizing Theo's plan. He must have been hiding his real power this whole time and only properly used it recently. Roy. Break his limbs. He needs to stay in the hospital for a few months, so he has no chance to get into the competition and the young master doesn't need a rival. The captain ordered them as they walked together toward Theo, noticing the real problem. If Theo were able to make this kind of judgment this whole time, he had a big chance to get selected as one of the 6 participants since each grade could only have 2 people. By that time, it was impossible to touch Theo even if the head of the Lang family made a move himself. Theo sensed them coming, but they were already several feet away from him, surrounding him in 4 directions while one of them walked forward while cracking his fingers. Assassins. Theo's heart skipped a beat. On whose order? Lost. Wait, why are they here? Since when they actually followed me? I already put on my mask. Unless they started tailing me from. It was at this moment, Theo realized he **ked up. You brat. You are not going to die today, but it doesn't mean you can leave without suffering. The man smirked. A set of black uniforms that only shows your eyes. What are you? Ninjas. Oh, come on. Don't impersonate someone's job. Despite knowing it was useless, Theo tried to buy time while searching for an escape route. However, the other guy seemed to feel nothing with Theo's provocation as he said, I wonder if you can scream as much as you talk. I see. That bastard lost, huh? Theo snorted while releasing his killing intent. Although they didn't shout back or whatsoever, Theo could see the slight change in their expression. They were disturbed when he said that, so it must be from Lost. Your mouth isn't qualified to utter his name. The guy started becoming agitated. It's freedom of speech. He has been bullying me this whole time and when he suffers, he is relying on his family. No wonder he is a trashy young master. He can only rely on his family. Theo made a smug smile as if he wasn't scared of dying. Little did they know Theo's heart beat rapidly as cold sweat covered his back. You bastard. You don't know anything about the young master. The guy couldn't accept Theo's words and snarl out loud. Roy. The captain called his name, reminding him what they needed to do. Theo, on the other hand, found something wrong with his words. In that instant, everything clicked in his mind as he shook his head in disappointment. I see. It's not Lost, but someone higher. Either way, this is the deed of the Lang family. I have never even offended you, but you all have been targeting me this whole time. This is just bullying the weak. Theo complained to see their reaction again. When Roy was about to rebuke him, the captain shouted. Roy. Do your mission. Did you forget what you have been taught? And he is dangerous. Destroy his vocal cords. That sentence woke Roy up and regained his calm in one breath. He was the most hot-headed guy among them, so he almost forgot that they were not supposed to say anything during the mission. Usually, they went to a high-level mission to deal with someone powerful, so his guard was lowered a bit because he just needed to deal with a boy without any background. Even with Theo knowing a little bit of information, it wasn't like he had the ability to pursue this in a legal way, but it certainly would displease their master. Using the time he took to calm his heart, Theo turned around and ran as fast as he could. Roy suddenly appeared in front of him and tried to block him, but Theo leaped to the air while releasing his skill. Magic bullet. Boom. Did I get him? Theo thought but shook it off his mind as he needed to escape this encirclement first. As if reading his mind, Roy appeared right in front of him as he punched him to the ground while saying, No, you didn't. Bam. Theo was hit right on the face and crashed to the ground as the dust kicked up due to the magic bullet's explosion in his body. The 5 assassins waited for a moment but didn't hear anything from Theo for a minute. Did he die? Roy frowned and decided to check him, resulting in him walking closer to Theo. He waited for the dust to settle down, so he could check Theo's condition. When he was about to duck down, Theo emerged from the smoke and slashed his sword downward, trying to split this guy into two. Roy. Another assassin warned his teammate, albeit it was too late. The so-called Roy had not enough time to cast his skill, so he tried to rely on his strength and combat techniques alone, grasping the sword with both palms. Had Theo waited for another second, his plan would succeed. However, a blue light fluctuated inside the smoke that almost disappeared. It flew straight toward Roy's abdomen. Gah! Roy spat blood. The pain was there, but everything he could think was how. How could Theo use such a technique when he himself couldn't? Yet, that thought didn't last long as his grip loosened, allowing Theo to complete his swing. When Roy's body fell, he found another figure among the smoke on the ground and died with shock. Roy! The shout echoed again as he leaped toward Theo, punching his abdomen. However, Theo disappeared without any trace. Unknown to him, the blue light appeared again within the smoke, flying through the man's heart. Impossible! The man widened his eyes in surprise, finding Theo on the ground. Theo's figure rose from the ground and grabbed the sword with his left hand, looking at the remaining three. The leader shivered when he saw this. His eyes were wide open and his teeth were clenching. This brat had known that he wasn't our opponent and pretended to be unconscious within the dust, then waited for us to approach and suddenly killed us by surprise. This kid, is he really the same Theodore Griffith in the report? Chapter 36, Hence you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 36. Hence despite him killing two of them, it didn't change the fact that he was still in a dangerous situation. What should I do? His expression darkened when he realized something. I didn't realize that they were following me this whole time, so our difference was big. Just like a weaker person could kill someone more powerful with poison, but it's a trick that can only be used once. Theo summoned his clone again as he passed the spear instead of the sword this time. Catch him. He must be using a skill to create a clone of himself, but the main body should be the one holding the sword. Be careful of his trick. No matter how high your level is, if you don't have a head or heart, you will die. The captain shouted and commanded the rest of his subordinates. When Theo heard that speech, he couldn't help but smile and look at his clone once. The captain obviously didn't let it pass and shout. No. There is a possibility that he can change position with his clone. Apprehend both of them. The two hesitated for a split second before going to separate ways. On the contrary, both Theos turned around and ran in a different direction to make the captain's words more believable. It was just a small gesture, but it was enough since Theo just killed two of their friends. If I can escape today, I will haunt the Lang family until they perish. Clone Theo laughed and shouted, using the ability he got from the upgrade yesterday to the fullest. They were attracted to that voice as the one following Clone Theo smirked and sped up. I see. You must be the real one. When he was about to strike Theo, his friend's voice echoed in his ears. Watch out. It turned out that the clone could speak, fooling them in that instant. Or it might be like what the captain said, Theo could switch position with his clone, albeit in a far smoother detail as they didn't notice it happened. Little did they know Theo actually used the same trick to kill the toad. By attacking the enemy from their blind spot with a powerful E-rank skill, he would be able to severely injure if not kill someone in one attack, allowing him to gain a massive advantage. However, Theo's move was read by the captain as he appeared between the two. His eyes were fierce as he struck the magic bullet, deflecting it to the ground. It's enough, you punk. The captain leaped toward Theo and grabbed his head before crashing it to the ground. Gah! Theo felt his skull was about to crack as that force alone created a small crater on the ground. His clone halted for a second and got apprehended by the other assassin. He quickly took a knife and hit the clone's thigh. It turned out that he had been chasing the clone this whole time as it disappeared, leaving only the spear behind. The reason he believed Theo was the one in front of him was due to things. First was his speech ability, while the second was his weapon. According to the information, Theo was a spear user, so if he needed to run, it would be better to have the weapon he knew the best. But it turned out to be a deception. Theo tried to play the mind game and managed to kill 2 elite rank assassins by taking advantage of their carelessness. Unfortunately for him, his luck ran short when the captain appeared and handled everything by himself. Theo might not know this, but they were just a bunch of trainees while the captain was the real elite, so everything would be useless when the captain made a move himself. After pinning him down on the ground, the captain fixed his posture before kicking Theo's abdomen, launching him to the air. Theo's body spun a few times before his back hit a large tree and stopped on its track. Gah! Theo spat a mouthful of blood. His consciousness became fuzzy and the pain made his body feel cold. His body was shaking as he lost control over them. In other words, Theo was F***ed up. Ah! I have been trying to rely on my power, but I guess this is the end. The assassin said that I wouldn't die, but I will definitely suffer after this. I really wish my luck is higher, so when everything is over, I can still increase my power to have my revenge. It's nothing different from what I have undergone this whole time. Despite giving up, Theo's determination remained. He didn't want this to be the end of his career and died before finding his brother. Theo knew. The only thing that could take him away from this situation was luck, but he had no knowledge in what form it would come or would they even come to him. The captain, on the other hand, walked toward him and grabbed his hair, lifting him up. You punk! How dare you kill my subordinates? I can't kill you, but it doesn't mean that I can't make you a disabled person. I will make you feel dying is better than living. As he was about to torture Theo, a breeze swiped the area, sending a chill down their spines as someone just landed behind them. She had long white hair tied into a ponytail. Despite her aged face, the way she held the spear looked like a warrior. Her hair fluttered due to the breeze, but more importantly, the wind suddenly stopped when she smiled. Unknown to them, they felt fear for the first time. Their eyes intertwined as though an invisible hand choked their necks. Who are you? The one who chased clone Theo shouted while pointing his sword toward her with his shaking hands. After 5 seconds, the answer had yet to come, so he clenched his teeth and leaped toward her so the latter didn't run away. However, the conclusion came in a sudden. The old woman raised her hand and slapped the assassin's head like it was nothing. There was no reaction or whatsoever, as if her slapping the guy was nothing but a fate. That slap turned out to be the most dangerous slap that the guy would ever get. It obliterated the head instantly as the blood splattered all over the floor while the body flew due to the momentum, landing only several feet away from them. The old woman shook her head and fixed her hair with the same hand that killed the assassin. She looked at them with a slight curve on her lips while saying, "Just get out of my way, ants." Chapter 37, Student. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 37. Student. Just get out of my way, ants. After that sentence, her voice became calm and indifferent. Her gaze was collected and bored. Yet, the 2 assassins felt that they were doomed to die when their eyes intertwined. I want that kid. Who are you? The captain pulled out his sword, raising his stance. Who am I? The old lady smiled. I'm just a passerby who happens to meet an unfortunate kid bullied by adults. So, I want to screw the adults by making them in his position, so they know what it feels to be helpless. You are strong, but are you sure you want to offend a big family just for this kid? The captain tried to negotiate without mentioning his backing to test the water. Big family. I don't give a sh*t to your Lang family. Even if the head of your family here, he only has 2 choices. Kneel or die. The old lady snorted as the spear on her hand glowed. The spear had a beautiful silver handle with rose patterns on its head and butt. The blade was half black, half green, becoming contrast to the silver color. The sudden action made these two panic as the trainee screamed out loud while trying to attack her. Unfortunately, he might be doing it for spite, but Theo wanted to have revenge for himself. He shot the assassin with his magic bullet, destroying his heart. Ho! Impressed by Theo's action, she smiled and walked closer to the captain. TCH. The captain clicked his tongue and took out a flashbang and a smoke grenade, throwing it to the ground at the same time. Bang! A high-pitched sound echoed, followed by a disturbing ringing sound. Theo managed to protect himself from the flash by looking away, but he was too weak to lift his hand to close his ears, so he had a hard time opening his eyes due to the pain in his ears. At the same time, the smoke grenade masked the area with white smoke as he escaped with his fastest speed, knowing that the old woman was far stronger than him. Theo wanted to tell the old lady that if the assassin escaped, they both would be in trouble, but the pain stopped him. Seeing the resolve in his eyes behind the smoke, the old lady smiled and thrust her glowing spear to the right. The golden light surrounding the spear's blade flew and turned into a torrential shock wave. The trees were shredded into pieces while the ground was pushed back and created a huge half-circular trail on the ground. The moment the shock wave hit the captain, it burst him into pieces as his blood dyed the ground red. Because the smoke was still rising, the old lady gently waved her hand as the breeze once again appeared, blowing all the smoke away before kicking the smoke grenade away. To point that spear at me. Brat, do you want to die? Asked the old lady with her cold expression. You do know that I just saved your life, right? I know. Theo struggled just even to utter one word, so he couldn't really answer her. Feeling a bit interested in Theo, she grabbed something from her right pocket. It was a syringe filled with green liquid. Theo couldn't react as the old lady had injected that liquid into his body. However, he noticed the change immediately as the green liquid spread all over his body. His wound closed with a speed visible to naked eyes. Although it didn't refill his energy, it was enough for him to speak. After checking his vocal cord, he hurriedly explained with his hoarse voice. I don't mean to be ungrateful, but I don't know your motive for helping me. You've admitted that you know their relationship with the Lang family, so it means that you have been tailing them or me. Hence, I know that this situation is not simple. Even if I am going to die now, I will die trying. Theo glared at the woman. It was the only clue he got from the woman since it was a strange phenomenon to be saved by someone who knew their identities. She might know about it from the way they protected Lost's name, but it reinforced the fact that she didn't encounter them by chance. Instead, she had been tailing him even before they beat him up. Thus, Theo couldn't trust her just yet. The old woman should also know the fact that this was a test from Theo to know about the relationship between them and felt displeased about his ungrateful attitude. Yet, she made a big smile as if she found a treasure. I like you, brat. Do you want to be my personal student? I will make you the strongest in the academy. Theo narrowed his eyes, wondering the purpose behind her words. No need to think hard. I truly want you to be my student. You could consider the earlier performance a test for me to find your talent. It seems, I haven't made a wrong decision. Despite knowing that you can't win against me, you still try to talk like a smart *SS. You should just kneel and thank me since it will give you a bigger chance to survive. The old woman shook her head in disappointment. I know. But I know that you have an ulterior motive just by seeing your relationship with the Lang family and the medicine. There's no way that someone is like a saint and helps an unknown person like me. So I conclude that I'm not going to die. Good. I want to test you a bit more, but I will just let you go because I'm going to be your teacher no matter what. This is a fixed matter. The old lady harumphed. Besides, I have promised someone to take care of you. Someone. Theo furrowed his eyebrows and thought of people who cared about him. Unfortunately, they were only his late parents and missing brother. It was an obvious choice since his parents had died when he was a kid. You are related to my brother. Your brother. The old lady's eyebrows twitched. Ah, right. Yeah, I promised your brother to teach you. You are not related to him. Theo instantly got his answer from her reaction. Envy. However, the old lady changed her expression again, bent her knees and smirked. Right. Listen here, brat. You shouldn't take the conclusion too early. What if I faked my own reaction? Didn't you pretend to be unconscious earlier? Are you going to fall for your own trick? The old lady gently flicked his forehead. So, what is your answer? Will you become my student? Chapter 38, 5 Aspects. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 38. 5 Aspects. The answer was obvious for most people. The old lady before him was an extraordinary expert with a powerful background to the point she didn't think much of the Lang family. Yet, Theo simply couldn't understand why such a person wanted him to be her apprentice. If this person came from the military, such a person would be famous in the country. Hence, she could be either an expert that moved in the shadow or a foreigner. Who are you? Asked Theo with a hesitant tone. Me. You don't need to know my name. The old lady waved her hand as if her identity was not important and continued, That's right. You can try to take a picture of my face during the training. However, I need to warn you that I will destroy the camera and memory card as soon as I notice it. On the other hand, I will teach you how to become an expert during these 6 months. Or at least until you are qualified to participate in Grand Gaia. Of course, my training is not that easy, so you will be tired during these few months. So, what do you think? Theo clenched his teeth. Although he had many doubts, he knew that there was no escape from this situation. He opened his mouth. Do I have a choice? Nope. Try to reject me and the next thing you know, you are already in the middle of level 200 area. The old lady smirked as if thinking it was amazing. Then, why do you even ask? Theo resigned to his fate. Good. Now, you are officially my student. First of all, you must be coming here for a mission, right? What is the mission? She asked. Getting Leaf Rabbit's fur. Easy enough. I can locate all the nearby rabbits in 1 minute. The old woman nodded with a confident face. Ahem. May I ask how to address you? Theo politely asked. Just call me teacher or master. It's up to you. Then, master, what should I do? Theo chose master because he called those who taught him in the school teachers or instructors, so he didn't want it to overlap. I will be teaching you 5 most important aspects that you should have as an elite. She raised all her fingers before pointing at her thumb. First, it's awareness. If your awareness were good, you would have noticed their ambush and reacted accordingly. This could also allow you to hide your presence and act as a part of nature to escape. Do you mean that I can sense someone 100 feet away? Theo narrowed his eyes. Yes. As I said earlier, I could locate all the nearby rabbits within a minute. Each life has something in common. They have a presence. You must have turned around a few times when you felt like someone followed you, right? Theo contemplated for 3 seconds before nodding a few times. Yes. When someone stared at me, I somehow noticed their gaze. That's right. There are 2 types of awareness. Internal and external. When you are aware of your internal awareness, you can hide your own presence. Like this. The old lady smiled and stared at him. The change sent a chill down to his spine. If he relied on his eyes alone, he would be able to see her staring at him. However, there was a weird sense that appeared in his head. It was like she was there, but not there at the same time. She stared at him but felt no gaze. It's confusing someone's sense. Exactly. By becoming a part of nature, you would be able to confuse someone's sense. This is internal awareness. But if your skill in sensing nature were higher than my own power, you would be able to sense me no matter how hard I hid my presence earlier. Theo seemed to have grasped something and asked for confirmation. So, if I had a more powerful external awareness, I would be able to sense you earlier. At the same time, if my internal awareness were stronger, I could hide my presence from you. Yep. And you could sense any arrows or random attacks that flew toward you. Something like that. She nodded with a smile and pointed at her forefinger. That's the first thing. Before I move to the second thing, I want to ask, what do you think are the most crucial things when fighting? Give me 3 aspects. Theo looked down and supported his chin with his hands, falling into deep thought. Skill, strength, and speed. I give you 10 points. Out of 100, of course. She smirked and teased him. Show me your butt. I'm going to spank you. Theo's face became pale as he imagined what would happen if she slapped him. His butt would be obliterated like the assassin's head. Seeing that reaction alone was satisfying, so she laughed. Ha ha ha. Joke aside, the answer is breathing, control, and technique. Breathing is the most important thing you need. Just like a sport, you will gradually stop thinking when you move too much at a certain period because the oxygen can't fully circulate in your body and brain. On the contrary, if you can keep your breathing stable, you will get a clear vision in head to think something. Even if your opponent is stronger or faster than you, you may come up with a trick or two to overturn the situation, like what you did earlier. As for control, it's basically the control over your body, including magic power. If I'm not wrong, you can split your magic bullet into a few, right? Unfortunately, your control is too low to do it. This is what I will teach you. Look at me. The old lady stood up. Her spear glowed like before and she thrust it toward a tree. However, Theo was shocked and the light flew in a crescent-shaped form, piercing anything in its way. Do you remember what happened when I used it for the first time? Theo nodded. It's like a torrential shock wave. Exactly. I use my control to make it burst to create that shock wave. In other words, if you have enough control, you can easily turn the magic bullet into 10 or even increase its size. The old lady then stabbed her spear to the ground. Then, it's time for technique. There are 2 types of techniques. Internal and external. Internal technique is something that we do repetitively like martial arts. For example, if my opponent is stronger, I can deflect his attack instead of taking it head-on. If my opponent is faster, my body may move faster because of the repetitive movements that have been instilled into my body. The second one is skills. However, I won't help you with this. You need to search for your own skills because you are the one who knows what kind of fighting style you want to achieve, not me. A real teacher guides you to your own special style, not restricts you to follow her style. She then pointed at the last finger. Last but not least, it's stamina. Chapter 39, Training Schedule. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 39. Training Schedule, Stamina. Theo narrowed his eyes. I just need to add my endurance, no. Nope. This is not related to endurance. What I'm talking about is your mental endurance. Let me ask you, what is the reason most people die under the siege of monsters? It's due to the lack of mental endurance. You will feel stressed after fighting continuously for a period of time and it's not related to breathing or something. It's like burnout if you are a content creator. You will become crazy or fall into despair sooner or later. That's why you need to become strong from the inside too. That's what I will teach you. I understand. I will do my best. Theo nodded with a serious expression. Since he ended up becoming her student, it was better to take advantage of it to the fullest. What should I do right now? Awareness and breathing are not physical training while control and technique are. As for endurance, you just need to get used to it, so I will be pushing you to the limit every single time. She smirked. So, I will be doing all of them at the same time. Yep. I will teach you how to control your magic power. After you are tired, you are going to rest while practicing your awareness. Then, I will teach you about technique and rest while practicing your breathing. I will push you hard to increase your mental endurance during the practice. We will keep repeating this. I can understand the order, but I have a training camp after this. How am I going to? Before he finished, his master already smiled and opened her mouth. I have seen the schedule. Basically, you will stop training at 5 p.m. due to the lack of light. At that time, you will head to my location and start practicing with me. Don't miss even a single day, alright? How about the meal? I will provide it. Theo agreed to the arrangement since this was the biggest chance for him to become stronger. I shall follow Master's arrangement. Good. How about your body? Yes. It's been an hour since Master injected that liquid into my body. Although I still feel fatigued, I think I can move. Theo raised both hands and swayed his body left and right, checking whether he was in pain or not. By the way, what was that liquid, Master? It's a combination of medicine and poison. It has the ability to heal someone's injury, but there is a side effect. Unless you take antidote from me every month, you won't be able to move. She smirked. Is that a joke? Theo's eyebrows twitched as he flinched just hearing it from her mouth. Yep. Surprisingly, she admitted it with a big smile as everything was just something she used to tease him. It was just a regenerative medicine that speeds up your metabolism to heal your wound. You can search for the medicine in Skylink if you don't believe me. Theo was speechless of her attitude. Sometimes, she acted like a cool master, but the other time, she acted like a playful granny. Yet, he couldn't tell whether his master was telling the truth or not because of this constant mood swing. Ah, you must be thinking how my attitude makes you unable to discern my real thoughts. This is intentional. Well, it's a part of training too. You see, if you have an important position, you need to put on a serious face in front of the media, but to those who know you personally, they will need to know your playful side. Why? Theo tilted his head in confusion. He thought that he needed to be serious, so the others couldn't look down on him like how he had done it this whole time. This is not about a fake smile or something. It's deeper. For example, by changing my tone every minute, people will be confused about what is wrong and right. At the same time, when this playful side is known to others, it can create even more pressure in your words alone by simply making a serious expression. I call this deception. She smiled. Theo felt a goosebump. As she said, her words were truly effective to Theo this whole time. But isn't it tiring to keep a persona like that every time? How about you? You are trying to create a persona with that mask of yours. Isn't it the same? Besides, when you are old and have a family, you will love this persona because it's the one bringing the family together. What? Do you want your family filled with tension due to your seriousness? She stuck her tongue out. Theo looked down and shook his head helplessly. With his current goal, there was no way for him to have a family since they would be in constant danger. His master seemed to notice something from his expression and decided to change the topic. Anyway, let's begin your training. I understand. Theo nodded and rose from the ground, picking up his mask and bag. By the way, can I complete my mission during this time? You can. In fact, I'm planning to train your control over magic power by fighting an enemy, she said while walking toward a tree. What is magic power anyway? It's something like air. It can't be seen, but you can feel it. Magic power resides in our heart and circulates like blood. Our understanding and strength are related to talent, not magic power. That's why there are magicians, while some are fighters or assassins. However, they have the form of gas. When you are using magic, the skill will automatically absorb your power and excrete it through your pore. You should be able to release that magic power without a skill. This is going to be my lesson. It's like controlling your magic power to envelop your body to avoid getting injured by something trivial. This is something you will learn in your second year, but I'm going to teach you right now. She placed her hand on the tree with a gentle smile. And by the time you finish this training. She paused for a second and directed the magic power that circulated in her hand to come out of her hand at once. Bam! The tree cracked as if it was hit by a huge boulder, only one step away from destroying it. You will be able to do this. Chapter 40, Ordinary or Genius. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 40. Ordinary or Genius. Good. Continue, said the old woman as she observed Theo's progress with great interest. I can feel your magic power coming out. Although it's very small and unstable, at least you can get it out. Theo took a deep breath before opening his eyes. His forehead was covered with sweat as he panted a few times. This is really hard. It feels like something is stopping the magic power from coming out. Of course, it's hard. Do you think you can become an expert overnight? The old woman flicked his forehead. As I said, magic power is like gas. If you want to release them, you need to open the valve. For now, you can barely open the valve in your hand, but I guess that's good enough for a newbie who has never practiced this. What is the ideal age for the children from a big family to practice this? Theo asked with an innocent face as if he wanted to compare himself to people such as Aaliyah or Lost. What? Don't be sad or overconfident because of a little progress like this. She sighed and shook her head helplessly. Well, I will just tell you this one, so you can become a bit proud of yourself. It's 7 years old. That's the ideal age to start. Of course, most families emphasize techniques and breathing first because these are the most important things and easy to brag about. Young people love it, right? I see. With your in-depth knowledge, Master must come from a big family as well. I don't know whether you are related to the military or not though. Theo narrowed his eyes as he just outsmarted her once. Even the old lady widened her eyes with a dumbfounded look before messing with his hair. I really like you. Immediately applying what you learn, You brat. I just have a good master. Theo shrugged. All right. Enough with flattery. Let's continue. Theo nodded and closed his eyes. Luckily, they had moved to another location since the last place was reeks of blood, making him unable to focus. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind as he remembered the explanation about magic earlier. He gently raised his hand and used his usual magic bullet. When his master saw it, she took a step back and couldn't contain her smile. What Theo did was taking advantage of his own magic. Since magic power would come out every time he used magic bullet, the process should be similar if not the same. Although he could only observe a portion of it, he only needed to repeat the process a few times to understand the process. This technique is not an official way to learn it because everyone's talent is different, but this process can indeed improve one's understanding. My initial plan is to teach him after he gives up, but it seems blood never lies, The old woman closed her eyes while smiling. Besides, neutral magic like this is far better for practice than fire magic and the like. Because Theo had been focusing on his strength and magic power every time he leveled up, he had enough reserve to last him for a while. During this process, he felt like he had been watching a few-second movie so many 10 times. After 3 minutes passed, Theo's back was already drenched in sweat after using his magic power excessively. I think I have grasped it, Theo muttered as he began focusing all his attention on his hand. He channeled his magic power like a running river. His heart became the higher ground while his entire body became the lower ground, so the magic power could flow naturally. And right before he released it, he imagined a waterfall. The water fell and splashed when it hit the water on the bottom. Ha! Theo was suddenly woken up and gasping for air. His hand supported his body as he raised his vision, looking at his master. Hee, do you want me to call you a genius? His master smirked, wanting to tease him again. No. If I were a genius, I wouldn't have to experience bullying in school. I'm just an average guy who relies on tricks to speed up the process. He shook his head with a serious expression. Theo truly meant what he said because his life wouldn't be this miserable were he a genius. You know yourself well. I have seen many geniuses, and you won't believe what they could achieve when they are in front of you. However, there is one thing that you need to know. It's the method to beat genius. A method. Yes. This is a way for an ordinary person to defeat a genius. You see, a genius can understand everything perfectly and use it right away. However, we, ordinary people, analyze what they see with our wisdom and apply it to make ourselves stronger. We seek magic geniuses to learn magic. We seek spear geniuses to learn their moves. And then, we use both of their skills to overcome them. Instead of getting swallowed by your pride and refuse to be taught by them, you should ask this question to yourself. Who is the one getting the last laugh? She raised her hand as her lips curved, showing her teeth. Her eyes were wide open, brimming with excitement. If one took a closer look, they would feel goosebumps from that stare alone. She clenched her fist and said, I am. Trick. Mind battle. Whatever you want to call it, as long as you get the last laugh, you don't need to care about people's opinions. That's how you become a true expert. And this is the true meaning of why hard work will allow you to beat geniuses. It's not aimlessly working hard. You need to have a clear vision of what you want to achieve and work hard by doing everything that can bring you to your goal. If one trick is not enough, then use 2. If 2 are not enough, use 4. She pressed her forefinger on Theo's forehead. Polish that rationality of yours, so you, an ordinary person, can beat those geniuses. I will help you by training your basic abilities to open that possibility. Are you prepared for hell, brat? Theo took a deep breath to stop panting. He looked at his master's deep eyes with a serious expression. He didn't know why, but his heart was filled with excitement, yet, his head became calmer. Yes, master. Good. Now stand up. We will hunt the leaf rabbit until your magic power is empty before starting your next training. She rose from the ground and stretched her hand to Theo, helping him up. For a second, he forgot the suspicion he had in this master of his and took her hand, rising from the ground. Little did he know that the magic power he released earlier that ended up with his hand touching the ground would leave a palm mark on the ground. Theo's focus remained on his master as he said. I'm ready, master.